What's going on YouTube? Welcome to today's video. This is actually a live Q&A that I was on the getting queued. So this was a lot of fun. I did this with my friend, Dr. Joe. His Instagram, you're gonna see it in the video. I just screen capped it and I'm uploading it to YouTube. This will also be on my Facebook as well. So I wanted to say thank you to Dr. Joe for having me on. Thank you guys for submitting some questions. I had a lot of fun answering them. I saw some of the comments. They said, please record this and upload it so it's there permanently, because there's a lot of informative content in this one that I hope you guys will find value in. One on like supplements, and if that's actually something you should really focus on to get you those results. And then we also go into, I guess, how to become a reputable online coach that is your career goal or something you want to dabble into in the future. As well as I got to ask Joe about some recovery tips. So I guess it's probably going to be a hard close just because that's how IG stories usually go. But I just want to say thank you guys for checking this video out. Thank you guys for submitting questions. And I hope you enjoy the video. And me and Joe will be doing another one of these in the future. Thanks, guys.
There you go.
Yeah, what's going on, man?
How's it going?
Good, good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So I was just in the middle of introducing you, but maybe if you want to introduce yourself for a second, let everybody know who you are.
All right. Thank you, Joe. So my name is Kevin Hejnasty. I guess I am a recent college grad. What I do right now is I'm an online health and fitness coach. I help busy professionals and people struggling with their health and nutrition take control of those factors and really get to their best body yet. And really simplify these kinds of things. If a lot of people struggle with weight management stuff, I just try to simplify it and make things efficient for your time. So I've been on the, I guess, Instagram space for like 6 years. We met in a powerlifting meet actually, and I was co-founder of the Rutgers powerlifting team, and currently training for my first official bodybuilding competition next fall, I believe. So that's a couple of things I've been up to. I also graduated with my pharmacy school degree in May.
Cool, man. Yeah, congratulations on that, by the way. That's cool.
Thank you, thank you.
So yeah, I met Kevin at a powerlifting meet 4 years ago, and man, since then you've really blown up. I love what you're doing with your career and social media and YouTube and everything. So I've started this kind of Q&A sessions recently on my IG Live, and I have plans to continue inviting people on to answer questions my followers might have. I have other people, clients that I work with that have their followers ask me questions. So I have a list of questions for you.
Awesome. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me on, and I see things are going very well for you too. You're keeping busy, and it's always better to be busy than bored, I always say.
Yeah, man, of course. Okay, so let's get started if you're ready.
Do it.
All right, so this is a serious question, by the way, so I wanted to start off with this. It is not a joke, okay? I thought it was a joke. I was actually I'm going to blow up my coworker right now. This is from my coworker, Mike Oakes. He asked me this question specifically today, and I was like, this is great, perfect for you to answer. If I keep the same weight or intensity in my workouts, but I eat at a caloric deficit, am I going to get smaller? No joke. So his goal is to get smaller. Mm-hmm. I know. I was floored by his goal, but his pants don't fit, and he's too swole for his shirts. So he wants to know if he can get smaller.
Are we saying smaller as in like body weight, body fat, or just like literally?
He just wants to be circumferentially smaller so he could fit into his pants and his shirts.
Okay, I mean, a little context to that is like, I know at the peak of my bulk last year when I was 230, my arms were measuring like 17 and almost like 3/4, 7/8, so I was close to 18-inch arms. All my measurements were a lot larger, and then I dropped 20 pounds. I lost about 1 inch on my arms. Other areas, 2 inches off the waist, I think, and stuff like that when I lost 20 pounds. So all those measurements did come in, but I appeared to be so much larger. So actually, he can knock out 2 birds with 1 stone with this. Like, if he's literally eating at caloric deficit, having enough protein to retain his muscle mass, he's going to, one, be smaller, but he's going to look bigger, so he's going to be able to fit into his pants. So if he's lifting the same amount of weight, he'll also relatively be probably stronger. Because as we both know, especially with powerlifting, your Wilks score is going to go up. So your per pound strength will be up. So if you can retain your strength while dropping body fat or just overall weight, because we can drop we can drop body fat at such a faster rate than we can lose or gain muscle mass. So usually when you drop weight, it's going to be majority body fat, especially if you're still training. So I hope that all kind of gets into that question.
Yeah, he should be satisfied with that answer. I think he'll be happy to hear that.
Awesome. One for one.
Number one down. So I've been getting so many questions lately on my IG lives that I've been doing about supplements. And I'm a physical therapist. I did the online nutrition coaching. I have an undergrad in exercise science and nutrition. So I have some like knowledge base as far as nutrition and supplementation. But I was like, what better than to ask a pharmacist who does online coaching about supplements? So I have a ton of questions about supplements. So I'm just gonna run through those. Okay.
Go for it.
So first question, someone who trains 6 days per week, should I use supplements?
So the one thing with like all these supplement questions is like supplements is a big broad array. And what I always say in regards to like supplementation, especially with my clients, there's only 2 real supplements that I say almost every client should take that are going to be like kind of worth that money and worth a return consistently. That's creatine monohydrate, which is like time and time again shown to be effective in improving your power output, and also it is found in foods. It can never be bound. Can never be banned because it's a natural substance. So creatine monohydrate is always going to be probably number 1 for anyone with any strength or performance goals. Number 2, just for longevity, I would say supplement a multivitamin. I think I've heard some researches out there that shows like maybe you don't get much of a return from multivitamins. But to me, it gives you that peace of mind, especially there's such a broad array of micronutrients. So by getting into multivitamins, you're going to at least plug in the holes. Like maybe your 4 servings a day, you're getting only broccoli and carrots. You're not going to hit every single micronutrient. So it's good to have a multivitamin to fill in those holes. Specifically, the kind of blurry area, the gray area of supplementation, I would say whey protein powder is good for convenience sake. So like traveling, if you struggle, like make enough chicken breast to hit your protein goals. Convenience, it's also low fat, low carb, so it's better to hit your macros with. Makes that easier. Pre-workout is really up to you. I know visually and mentally, getting a better pump in the gym is just more fun. So I enjoy pre-workout. If you're doing bicep curls and you see an extra bicep band, like I'm in for that. It allows me to perform a little better. And also caffeine is very highly very consistently shown to improve your output as well. It's like power and stuff. But usually I see the really consistently effective dose is pretty high, like 3 to 5 milligrams per kilogram, or even more than that. So at least it's going to be like a half gram for me personally, about 100 kilos. So that's kind of like the gray area you get into. Aside from that, like don't waste your money on fat burners, just do a caloric deficit. The latest, greatest supplement isn't probably going to do much because we've pretty much found everything by now. And the most important thing I can say with creatine, if it's anything but like monohydrate, you may absorb it 20 minutes faster, but like it matters just getting it in a 24-hour window. You build up the total threshold over days, not in like minutes or hours.
Sure. Okay, great. So you answered some questions already. I keep getting questions about safety. What is your opinion as far as, not just in regards to some of the ones that you mentioned, but some other supplements as far as safety goes? Like, are there ones that you would flag and say, don't use these, or, you know?
So I heard a story. I'm not sure if this was like a legit story, but it's always kind of like, I guess, a joke. And this is kind of maybe even like a place into like a pharmacy joke. But like, there's always that saying, like, the toxicity is in the dose. With anything. Like, if you eat enough apples, you'll die of cyanide poisoning.
Or water.
Yeah, you'll die from too much water. Toxicity is in the dosage. So like, just a little joke I like to say is don't mix up your caffeine and creatine. Why I say that is because I know the lethal dosage for like caffeine I've seen like be like 10 to 15 grams. Maybe some people 5 grams if they're small enough. And then creatine, the daily dosage is 5 grams. If you're taking a loading dose, it's 20 grams. So like if you confuse those, like that's a lethal dose right there. But it's like they're both effective for supplementing your performance, but you can't just take more and more and expect a better return. And then that's kind of like, again, like always remember that take the recommended dosages, do your due diligence with that. Look at examine.com. It's a very well read resource to use. And then the second onto that is I kind of feel bad in saying this, but like I say to stick to reputable brands when you're going with supplementation. What I mean by that is like you don't want to get a whey protein from the new anabolic 9000 that's in the back of the supplement store.
The Walmart protein.
Yeah, maybe not that either. Because like you don't know with those, maybe those cheaper, the newer ones that aren't like around for a long period of time. You may not have that trust in them. They may not have the revenue to test their products for purity. They don't have CGMP kind of standards, so you're a little bit more at risk going with these underground type brands as opposed to like your maybe GNC, your PE Science, use my discount code, your Gold Standard, and those kinds of things. So I kind of say, I hate to say it to the small supplement companies, but you're going to want to look at the reputable brands.
So what are some brands that you like? That was the next question. Or who do you support?
So I am biased. I am a sponsored athlete from PE Science. I've been taking their products for a long period of time, even before I was a sponsored athlete. My supplementation that I take actually a lot of like whey protein. Their protein is whey casein mixture. It has a little bit of a benefit over like pure whey proteins, but also more to me, I like the consistency. I can make like a good pudding mixture. So my breakfast is usually that pudding with like a little bit of cereal, some quick digesting carbs. I get my training in, and then just for convenience sake, the protein bars are amazing. They have a lot of fiber in them for PE Science protein bars. And that's like my first 2 or 3 meals often because it's very quick. I get a lot of protein in. And then usually I'll have like some maybe chicken and a couple bags of vegetables. Aside from that, I use the pre-workout as well. High Volume is a good non-stim, a good pump product. And then they also have Prolific, which has some pump product in it, some nitric oxide boosting ingredients. And then it also has your caffeine. So for powerlifters, you're going to want your caffeine dosage. So that is me. That's the kind of stuff that I'm recommending right now. But again, like with supplementation, supplementation isn't going to make you a great athlete. It's going to be more so focusing on your nutrition, your caloric intake, your protein intake, and your training. That's going to get you 95% of returns. Supplementation is going to be that convenience. Like if you get 12 different servings of vegetables, you may not need a multivitamin, but is that realistic for our schedules? Maybe not everyone. So that's when you got to see that cost benefit.
Okay, great. Next question. This one was for like a cyclist. So somebody who cycles primarily and they weight train less frequently.
I missed that.
No. Somebody who does. So I have a lot of followers that follow follow Peloton, and they work with Peloton, right? For somebody who cycles more so than they would weight train, would you still suggest taking like pre-workout, post-workout drinks to help with recovery, or supplements for them?
So that's an interesting, like an in-between area, and I know there's outliers on this because I know there's one guy, I don't know his name, but he's like German or something, humongous, like 26 or 28-inch quads, and he's like a short dude, so they're just massive. I think he's like a sprinter cyclist type. So with cycling, I know you can build up some pretty strong legs, especially if you're doing more of resistance type training with that. And I know that doing maybe enough cardio that it outweighs the stimulus of like resistance training, you may be fighting 2 different adaptation pathways. One is catabolic, one is anabolic, so it may be a little tough to make optimal progress. But what I've seen or I've heard smarter people than I say is maybe the catabolic nature of cardio, it may be overstated because it's usually shown with running, and running is a very high stress, high impact type exercise. So maybe that's why it's so catabolic, and like maybe doing a lot of cycling because it's not too high impact. Maybe that's going to at least lower the amount of catabolic nature of like a lot of cardio. So that's a kind of gray area for me right now, just like where I am with my knowledge. So that's kind of a question I'm asking myself. But overall, like definitely, like having your protein intake is always going to be beneficial if you're trying to retain, gain muscle, or even perform better. I even think if you are a 2-miler or an endurance athlete, you're probably going to want protein to at least retain what kind of muscle mass you have. And I think I'm saying this right, but your type 1 muscle fibers, whichever ones are highly active in endurance training, you're just not going to want to be depleted of protein because you probably even have a higher injury risk because you're not fully recovered. In addition to that, your post-workout shakes. I think it's even going to be more important if you are a hybrid athlete, doing your endurance training, doing strength training. You may actually, we always say there is no anabolic window after training, but in the case that you are training twice a day, there's probably going to be a little bit of merit to getting in post-workout, quick digesting carbs before your next training session. So like CrossFitters really benefit from that. So it's really, it depends on your goals, Ken.
Great. I wouldn't have said it any better myself. So that's it for the supplement questions. I have one really good question for you from one of my patients, actually. And he wants to know, how does someone become a reputable online coach? So what did you do to get to where you are as far as online coaching goes?
I love that question. I absolutely love that, because I even I joke with this to even my parents and my grandparents I've been hanging out with this week. I'm like, what I do, there's no barrier to entry. So there's a lot of freedom of competition, and it's kind of like, even I've invested in a pretty crappy online coach in my past. I spent $100 on a coaching program. He gave me a PDF, didn't tell it to me the next 12 weeks. I gained 34 pounds in 2.5 months in my lean bulk. So you can have really crappy coaches, but then there's coaches, I would like to say I'm a better coach. You get good coaches that give you that accountability that you need to follow through with a good plan, and also help you call audibles and stuff that make it fit your schedule, make it effective for you. So I guess the way to make your way into it, and I can tell you the step-by-step process that got me kind of where I am today, where I'm able to do this full time. And I guess I've just been very fortunate to have great mentors along the way. I learned the right information of what to focus on to get optimal results, or what really matters. Because too many people say oh, meal timing matters. Oh, the color of your rice matters. But no, it's energy balance. Understand that if you can help your clients adhere to a caloric deficit, you're going to be better than 90% of coaches, because that's all that most people want. So aside from that, number one is you're going to want to learn the right information, then find an efficient route to, I guess, keep your clients adherent. For me personally, the development of my business, first, I mastered myself. Master coaching yourself, understand and know that you can make yourself gain or lose weight, and be in control of your own progress. Number two is I asked some of my friends, I think it was 6 or 8 friends, I was like, hey, let me coach you for free. I'm going to practice and see that I can get you the results that I can get myself. Once that went well and I was confident in my abilities, I charged pretty low prices. I was like $50 a month or something, just because I didn't have a lot of experience. I didn't have a lot of success stories, because I didn't work with that many people that time. And that allowed me to learn. I worked up with, I think, to this point, over 250 people. And now I'm able to compete with personal trainers, because I get my clients results, and I know that if someone trusts me with their fitness goals, I'm going to get them where they want to go, because I've been doing this a long time, and I understand the whole process of how to work with people and use the systems that are going to help them out. So pretty much once you start showing that you're getting your clients results and you build up that trust, and always provide free value, try to be of value to the people that are following you. Give them information. Don't, I always say this, I don't want to sound the wrong way, but don't jerk yourself off to your physique on Instagram. No one cares about that. Tell people how you got to where you are. And that's going to make you reputable. That's going to build that trust. And that's going to be helpful to people following you.
That's great, man. That's awesome. So that definitely answered that question. I think you answered this question and the answers that you've given previously, but one of your followers actually asked, what is the best way to start a diet? If you want to give some insight on that. I know there's so much you could say, but go ahead.
Yeah, I can take this one. So it's kind of like how do you start a diet? So there's, I guess, the actual application of it and the rate. So for me, when I start a new client, I want to get them some good results. And you can always be more aggressive at the start when your body fat's higher. But when you get, the leaner you get, the more you got to control that rate and not diet too fast. Because then you start losing muscle mass. So if you're very, very high in body fat, you can be pretty aggressive. You can be very aggressive with your caloric deficit. So for me, in terms of rate, I start off pretty aggressively. I'm going to be all right, I see you're eating this on a consistent basis. My client comes to me and they're like, I'm eating 2,500 calories per day. I'm going to be we're going to 2,000. We may bump you to 500 calories of cardio. Let's get things moving. And then we can always keep adjusting and keeping that momentum going, because we're going to get those downward adaptations. You're just going to your metabolism slows down, but you're just going to be a smaller body over time. And then that's going to require us to then make adjustments downwards. So in terms of rate, aggressive at the first. In terms of how to start a diet, if you want to track your calories versus if you don't want to track your calories, focus on getting a lot of lean meats, focus on getting a lot of vegetable intake. A third thing would be, I guess, stay hydrated. And if your protein's up, your vegetables are up, you're going to be satiated, and then you're going to be getting your protein. You're probably going to eat less calories. Weight loss is going to happen. Other case, track your calories. Again, hit your protein, hit your veggies, and then see where you're losing weight at. So control your calories, 2,200 a day. If you're not losing weight, go down to 2,000. Rinse and repeat, and you're going to get shredded.
Right. Okay, so then those are all of the questions that I have. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, like, what have you been doing? So, like, what are you doing, Dr. Joe? Like, what have you been up to since our meet, I think, in, like, 2014?
It was 2014, right? Yeah. And let's see, since then, I went to physical therapy school. I got my doctorate in physical therapy. I've gotten multiple certifications and courses in regards to healthcare and physical therapy and rehab, to the point where I've taken so many courses where, so I'm very lucky and blessed to be at Symbio Physiotherapy where I work here in the city. We're all about learning, education, bettering ourselves. I am the education coordinator here now, so I set up courses here. I've had recently, like, Dr. Perry Nicholson come in and teach courses here. I've had other people come in and teach courses here. And I've taken all these courses and am currently developing, along with a couple of my coworkers, our own course to teach other PTs and trainers, chiros, massage therapists, like how we treat, and to share kind of our style, our method. So I'm working on that right now. Let's see what else. I got into Olympic weightlifting. I had a meet scheduled for this winter, but I had to reschedule. Something just came up, but I'm looking to compete soon, so stay tuned for that.
Awesome.
It's definitely one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I love it. And I'm getting married this year.
Hey!
2019.
Congrats.
Thank you, man.
And then I guess, like, this is a good question. So I guess, like, what are your top 3 recovery tips? Because I know you are a doctor of physical therapy. So what are your, like, top 3 recovery tips for, like, us people beating ourselves up 6-7 days in a week with bodybuilding going?
Okay, so primarily, I know this has more to do with, like, intake and lifestyle and nutrition, but water intake. I can't tell you how many people I treat or how many people I know that are just, they dehydrate themselves because they're not consuming enough water. Our lymphatic system is responsible for replenishing like metabolic waste as we sleep, and we actually replenish 3 liters of lymph every night. The lymphatic system is mostly water, so think about that. You need at least 3 liters just to get all the crap out of your body while you're sleeping. So think about, you're sweating during the day, especially if you live in a hot climate or if you're doing a lot of cardio, you should definitely be drinking a ton of water. So that's primarily number 1. I would say also have some type of active mobility or stretching routine. I am not a big fan of, like, the passive stretching or passive foam rolling route. I like having some type of active movement to prep you for your workouts. I try to tell even my bodybuilders this, it's invaluable. Don't just go to the gym and grab a band and hold it over your head and swing it back and forth and think that, you're good to go. Yeah. Do something that's challenging. So whether that be, I don't know if you follow the functional range conditioning people, but if you're doing controlled articular rotations, or if you're doing shin boxes on the ground, or if you're doing Turkish get-ups as a warm-up, or even if, let's say you're squatting this day, if you're breaking down that squat into its different components and you're doing some banded ankle mobility drills and maybe some goblet squats or some single leg work to warm up for that squat, great. So definitely having some type of active mobility routine in your day. And then the last thing I would say is movement, right? So not just moving when you're at the gym, but moving when you're at home or if you're at work. Some people don't go to the gym every day, right? So if you're going to take a day off or 2 days off, that doesn't mean
just sit around
all day and do nothing, right? If you're sitting at a desk, make sure you're moving, constantly changing your posture, standing up, sitting down, moving your neck, moving your shoulders, going for a walk. It's not that hard to wake up a few minutes early and just do a few mobility exercises or go for a long walk. So those would be my big three. This brings me back to something I wanted to ask you. So I saw recently you saw someone for rehab and decided that you need to stay on top of yourself more as far as your body as like an athlete and training. What made you come to that realization and start going down that route?
Yeah, so when I guess someone I like really trusted a lot was my old powerlifting coach. He coached RUPL, so shout out to Elish. And he was someone where I'd be like, all right, so this is kind of locking up a little bit, or this isn't like feeling too mobile. Or I remember at one point I was like, I think I strained my groin, and I thought I pulled it or something during a deadlift because I overshot her V. And then what happened is like he was like, actually, that it's not a pulled groin, and like you shouldn't just keep off of it for 2 weeks. And he gave me a couple like activating exercises to like kind of flex my groin until it kind of like it cramped up, and it was something that it was like inactive. I wasn't using it because I didn't have, I guess, a good like almost like a mind muscle connection, but it just wasn't like being used, and that's what kind of had that happen. So he was someone I held in a high light, and he was very helpful to me, but he was all the way in New York City, so I didn't get to see him as much. So then around here, I saw someone who was very good. So shout out to Jim. He was very good at like doing similar things to Elish. Like if I told him I have this ache, he'd be able to fill around and then he'd be like, oh, it feels like this is out of place. This could be a strain or like this. And he would tell me what was up with me. And I'm like, all right, you kind of have a good handle for that kind of thing. So maybe if I do feel you're trustworthy and not just like BSing me, like, oh, I feel like you have a torn bicep right here. Like you're going to have to come back 3 times a week. Like I've had chiros in the past like that and I was not happy. It's like snip, snap, $25, come back tomorrow. I'm like, what? So like I met with Jim. He did a couple like chiropractic stuff with me, and that was just like in addition to like massage therapy. He told me like, oh, your groin actually feels pretty strained. That kind of stuff is tightened up, and that's what's causing your left knee pain and your left hip pain. And then working with that a little bit, I was seeing some improvements with seeing him every once in a while. So that kind of is what persuaded me to start seeing him a little bit more. So definitely going to try to keep more up to date with that kind of stuff.
So that prefaces me to say that I think that's great. I think everybody should take that approach. I have a lot of people that come to see me for prehab and like injury prevention. I have a lot of athletes coming in to see me that aren't injured. And we actually just started filming for this fitness company in the city called NeoU Fitness. And NeoU is going to start, their app is already live, and our brand is going to launch on their app starting in January. So people will be able to have injury prevention and prehab and education videos from me and my coworkers starting January, like on their phone at home. So I thought that was also important to just put out there. I'm very grateful for them for giving us that opportunity and realizing that that's a necessity out there. And I hope more people take that initiative to see a PT or somebody for prevention, as long as they're doing right by them and trying to make them perform better and not just trying to get them to come as much as possible just to make money.
Yeah, and I've also noticed one thing that, and as you know, like you probably take like a multi-variable type approach. You try to attack it from different angles. And like, as we know now, some people really enjoy acupuncture. That's very popular in China. I know other things, what is it, Graston? Some people feel that's very effective. And if these things, some people consistently like use those and see some good effects, there's probably some places where they're like meant to be used. Maybe acupuncture isn't the answer for everything, but if you take different approaches and you can use tools when they're needed, I think that's always very valuable. So also taking the preemptive route and making sure that you're not always coming when you broke your leg or something, or you tore an ACL. So like try to keep things fluid, keep things moving, and just like make sure you're checking up on yourself before you really got a problem. And that's mistakes I made in the past. I would wait until it's too late, and then I have a big injury on my hands where I got to take time off, as opposed to adding in some corrective exercises, getting the right muscles activating, and preventing that time that I just spent off, because then you get that opportunity cost of your gains. Like if you're sitting on your couch and you can't really do a squat, you're missing out on the gains you could be making. So definitely take care of your recovery, and of course, like definitely check out what you guys are going to be putting out. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, cool, man. I appreciate that. So I think that's everything. I appreciate having you. Thank you for joining me. I hope we do one again in the future.
Let me know, man.
Yeah, man. All right, cool. So
All right.
All
Yeah,
right,
thank
thanks,
you so
man.
much for having me.